Mswatu inkosi ithula akayithathe akahambe nayo akayithathe yetinza bakewone akayithathe
Your time is 2 p.m. and welcome to the Monday edition of Market View right here on Eswatini TV, the first for the month of June. I am Nosile Tole and welcome to the program. Today, at the core of a successful creative industry is copyright and intellectual property. This is a system that transforms creativity into commercial value, enabling creative minds to earn sustainable incomes from their work. Locally, efforts to formalize and commercialize the sector are beginning to gain momentum as the Eswatini Copyright Society has now registered 122 rights holders, documented more than 350 copyright works, and today applications officially open for support under the Fund for Creativity and Artist Development. This is good news, of course. And this is actually the first component of the Creative Industries Development Fund, with an initial 100,000 Malangeni allocation to support the creation, production and promotion of new copyright works. In conversation with the director of the Copyright Society, we'll dive into what impact these development funds can have on employment creation and investment within the creative economy. But first, let's have a look at our business news this afternoon. In our business update, a consultant has been commissioned and given approximately 6 months to complete a salary review for state-owned enterprises, with the hope that in the next budget year for 2027-2028, the money will be incorporated in the budget. The consultant, Emergence Human Capital, was announced by the Minister of Finance, Honorable Nur Reichenberg, at the Eswatini Revenue Service this morning during the contract signing. The minister said there is no need for people performing the same jobs to earn different salaries across different parastatals.
All the entities need salary reviews. But ultimately, as Cabinet and as a government, we were approving those that were performing well and that were performing according to targets and those who were generally making money. And the entities that maybe were not performing that well or that weren't generating income, they were not going for salary reviews and not getting approval for salary reviews. But all that meant was, and that is that in time, you find parastatals that are battling just become worse and worse and worse off, and ultimately can never now get out of the mud, can actually never come right because they are just really left behind from so many perspectives. So that's why we felt an exercise of actually looking at everybody and doing a harmonization process is really critical. And again, I know it'll be explained very well when they do a presentation later. Harmonization does not mean all CEOs and all CFOs earn the same. There's definitely an element of categorization, and we'll speak about categorization, but there will be differentials because some jobs are just bigger, some entities are bigger than others. But when it comes to the lower levels within our organizations, there's no reason why a driver or a cleaner in one entity should be earning a whole lot more than a driver or a cleaner in another entity. But if I can plead with you to try and hold the fort and to try to keep peace in your entities until the exercise is done, we'll definitely see what we can do as government, that when the exercise is done, to try and implement it as quick as possible and to try and get that finalized. And again, when it has been finalized, please understand, everybody, that it is still subject to affordability. Affordability will always, unfortunately, have to play a factor here, but at the same time, let's at least know what the right pay is, what the right structures are, so that we can all aim towards. I think if it's finalized December-ish PS, it'll be a good time for the new budget cycle. By that time, we're finalizing the budget. We'll have a good idea what we need to try to assist with on that front, if we can assist on that front. as government, but I think the timing kind of works out quite well to make sure in the year 27-28 that we can really do something significant and have something in place.
The Eswatini Public Enterprises Association's chairperson Dumisani Msibi has urged the chief executive officers of the state-owned enterprises to comply with the consultant to ensure the process does not delay.
We know the agency that is attached to the program. The one appeal that have been asked by the ESCO to extend to CEOs and CFOs is that now that the process is starting, let's all work together as a unit insofar as information requirements are concerned. So the one thing that may probably see us taking another 1 year or two is when the consultants then reach out to respective institutions and they need the information that they require, and it takes forever for that information to be available.
During the signing of the contract with Emergence Human Capital for the review of salaries of state-owned enterprises, the Honourable Minister of Finance, Honourable Nuraikenberg, also provided an update on the reforms status of state-owned enterprises, as some of them may need to be merged.
At some point, we were quite actively going down the road of a SOE reforms. So we do believe here or there, not everywhere, but some reforms are necessary within the parastatals, and at some point you might have felt it hanging in the air and we haven't communicated. So just be clear, we do still plan to consider SOE reforms. And again, when we get there, we'll do it with a proper way, we'll do it with proper consulting, we'll do it neat and tidy. Please don't feel agitated or get anxious about it. But we did realize that our PU legislation wasn't actually set correctly for us to be able to do proper reforms the way that'll be a neat way to do it. So we are busy looking at our PU legislation. When the legislation is done, and this all takes time, unfortunately, we'll get back to that stage. But when we get there, please don't worry. There'll be proper consultations. We'll really make sure we do it the right way, the best for the country.
And you're up to date with some of the latest in business this afternoon. After the break, we speak to Eswatini Copyrights and Neighbouring Rights Society Executive Director Meli Hlandle. Stick around.
To all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@esccom.org.za. For more information, visit www.esccom.org.za.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market View, and moving on with the program. Applications for the 100,000 Malangeni Short Film Production Fund are now officially open. Announced by the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honourable Manqoba Khumalo, and supported by UNESCO, this exciting initiative presents a unique opportunity for filmmakers and creatives to turn their vision into reality. But what does this fund really mean for the creative industry, and how can aspiring filmmakers filmmakers take advantage of it. To unpack some of the opportunities and impact of this program, we are joined by Meli Hlanze, Executive Director of the Eswatini Copyrights and Neighboring Society. Mr. Hlanze, good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming through to the studio. Maybe we could just start off by unpacking or differentiating some of the funds that exist under the Creative Industries Development Fund within Eswakos.
Good afternoon, Notsile, and good afternoon to our viewers as well. So, as you've already shared, we have the Creative Industries Development Fund, which is basically broken down into 3 sub-funds. The first is the support for creativity and artist development, and this one focuses on supporting the creation and the promotion of new works. We are trying to ignite the growth of the sector by supporting artists to be able to create new works which can be available for the market. The second one, which we haven't launched yet, but we did announce last week at the Copyright Day commemoration, is the Artist Mobility Fund. And this one supports the mobility of artists and cultural professionals to be able to attend, whether it's festivals or conferences or any engagements across the region and internationally that would help them to network and access new markets, because we want to see our creative sector also getting a stronger market penetration globally. And then the last fund is the Social Welfare Fund, and that one really looks to bringing back the dignity to the creative sector by supporting or rather covering the gap that exists in terms of social welfare in the sector. It could be various things, funeral cover, hospitalization support, scholarships. All of these are aspirations that we have, but particularly the one product that we are going to have live also later this year is the free funeral cover for members.
Let's drill into the Fund for Creativity and Artist Development, where 100,000 Malangeni has been availed, especially for filmmakers.
Yes.
What eligibility criteria will applicants be required to meet as applications open today?
Well, the first one for us is that whoever is going to be applying must have registered and be a member in good standing with Eswakos. This is important because we want to see the benefit flowing to rights holders who have come forward to register their works, because we believe that you can't draw from a well that you have not participated in building. So that's one of the first things, and then of course after that, depending on the quality of the applications, we will be looking at the quality of the submissions. We are looking for short films that will prioritize promoting the awareness of copyright, because we see it as a good opportunity to also bridge that knowledge gap amongst the general public. We want to create short films that are entertaining but also educational and help the public to understand more copyright and why we need to respect copyright.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that film perhaps was identified, you know, maybe there are gaps, and it had to be one of the key investment areas when we look at 100,000 Emalangeni being availed specifically for film? Why is this the case?
I think it also ties into the local theme that we had for the commemoration of Copyright Day last week, and that's promoting Siswati stories in the digital age. I think film right now is one of the best mediums of telling a story, and one of the best mediums of communicating a message across, because it's so easily accessible through the internet, through broadcasting. Everybody is able to access it through their phones, and I think film also captures one's imagination and also encompasses almost all of the other art forms. Film involves music, film involves literature, film involves photography, film captures almost all the other creative works. So for us, it was the best way to support not just film, but indirectly support all the other art forms as well.
If I may ask, Meli, where do digital content creators fit into the broader picture of ECOWAS, particularly under this fund, given that online creativity is a reality, from skits to comedy to writing? What about digital content creators? Does this fund apply to them as well?
It could.
It could.
It could, depending on how they structure their content. We are very specific in terms of how we want to tell the story. We still want to follow the format of film, but we do have an appreciation of how content has evolved, especially in terms of social media. I think with due time, we might have one specifically that looks to tap into more social media programming or social media format for that. But specifically, this one is looking to film again. In that, film supports multiple people, supports multiple jobs. You need to hire the talent that's going to perform. You need to hire the camera operators. You need to hire a writer. You need to hire. So we feel like that helps the fund to reach more people. But we do have an appreciation for content creators as well.
100,000 malangeni on the table. How many projects does Eswatini expect this amount will support, and what maybe is the average size or grant anticipated per project?
So it will depend on what is submitted by each person when they respond to the call. What I can say is that it can support up to 50,000 emalangeni. So in this case, if we do get submissions that qualify to take up that 50,000 as a whole, we're looking at 2 short films, right? But for us, we are also going to have experts that will help us to assess the proposals to say, is this worth 50,000 emalangeni? Because we do believe that there could be someone who could say, I actually don't need 50,000, I need maybe 30. And that could help us to stretch the fund to benefit more people. But yes, it's kept at 50,000 per application currently.
The initial funding, is it intended as seed funding, or are there then intentions to actually scale it?
Yes, so this is a seed that was made available by the Honorable Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, which we are grateful for. And how it's going to be sustained is through the collections themselves. So just to remind the audience that as a SWACOS, our mandate is to collect license fees from users or businesses that use copyright. So the expectation is that from these license fees that we collect, yes, we are to distribute them to the respective rights holders whose works are being used, but a portion of that will be retained specifically for the Creative Industries Development Fund, and that is currently 10%. So 10% of whatever we collect, we will continue to pour back into the fund so that there's some sort of perpetual benefit that goes back to the sector.
As the Copyright Society, how do you see this contributing to the long-term viability of the local creative sector when you look at it from job creation, skills development, and the positioning of local films for regional or maybe even international markets?
It's very important because the reality is that the cost of production is high.
Yeah.
And we are just trying to help bridge that gap in terms of support for creating new works. The more works we can create, the more works we can put into the market, and that will lead to the growth of the creative sector, not just locally but also internationally. These are films, again, which is why we were very particular about films that we're looking to also at some point take to international film festivals, whereby we could showcase ourselves as Eswatini, specifically our film production sector, to show what we can do and tell our stories. But over and above that, it's also just about the jobs that are being created, practically being created, because whoever's producing this film, like I mentioned, also has to work with other people who are going to be paid to help create that that copyright. So it's about creating jobs. It's about finding new markets for our works. And for us as a collective management organization, it's about also tapping into the royalty systems that exist and making sure that we can also then earn royalties, not just here, but of course if we find placement for these films outside of the country, earn those royalties, especially in foreign currency, which almost doubles the benefit.
Yeah. Hlanze, thank you very much for your time living here. Thank you for talking to us. That was Meli Hlanze, who is the Executive Director of Eswatini Copyrights and Neighboring Rights Society. We're unpacking the 100,000 malangeni that has been availed for filmmakers, which is under the Fund for Creativity and Artist Development. In-house economist Sanele Sibia is joining us after this.
Those that are in pain must forget all the problems they have. Because the things of the earth have got no answer. But the answer that we have is all morning. When I'm preaching here, I'm preaching to myself. I receive the Holy Spirit.
I declare that a turnaround is coming my way.
Turnaround is coming in my life.
Hello to all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Babani. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@esccom.org.za. For more information, visit www.esccom.org.za.
Welcome back for our market analysis segment. In-house economist Sanele Sibia already joins us in the studio. Mr. Sibia, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. First trading day for the week, first trading day for the month of June, actually. What key economic drivers or data points can we expect to, drive markets during the course of the month?
Thank you, Notsile. Good afternoon to you. So I think quite important and quite pivotal is whether we are going to get a peace deal coming out of the Middle East or not. Now that's what markets are looking at, and it seems we have indications that we will be getting that peace deal coming out of the Middle East. It's just an issue of whether they are agreeing or not on that nuclear part of the deal. But overall, markets are starting this month on a good note. Starting with the US, we're seeing the likes of NVIDIA just pulling up the markets. Again, we're seeing the optimism around artificial intelligence coming back into the markets. And when you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Nasdaq Composite Index, and the S&P 500 Index, all those indices are all up. We really showing signs that you know, there is a bit of optimism wave that's riding on this optimism, and there is a bit of you know, movement around the AI indices. And then when we move on to Europe again, you can see that again, even in Europe, it does reflect the fact that there is a heavy optimism around the peace deal. And I mean, we've had President Trump saying they're going back to a meeting and they are hoping for a peace deal very fast. And he said, but under no circumstances will Iran be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. So we're seeing London taking a bit of a slide, losing 15 points in today's trade, but Germany is up 88 points, and France is up 10 points. So now that's just given that optimism that we are talking about in the Middle East. And then also the tech stocks are just doing well relatively across the board. And then if you move on to the Asian stocks, what we're seeing in Asia there is, again, you know, the likes of Samsung doing very well. So we're seeing that the tech rally is supporting Asian markets in terms of the Japanese Nikkei. We're seeing a new record. Remember last week we saw a record of 65,000. Today we are sitting on 66,000 in terms of all share volumes, just a bit shy of that 67,000 mark. Same thing in Hong Kong. We're seeing Hong Kong staying stable, up 215 points in today's trade, with the mainland, you know, just posting signs of weaknesses there, you know, really just showing the fact that China has a demand problem, and you know, there are also issues to do with you know, that factory output that we are seeing. And then coming into South Africa, South Africa started the month relatively well, but no, just a bit down, 840 points in today's trade, which is expected, given that last week we saw an increase in the interest rate. And then also we're seeing that bit of instability in the Middle East. Now that is what is pushing the Johannesburg Stock Exchange to those levels. In Eswatini, we're not seeing any change. And then in terms of the commodities, gold is, you know, we're seeing gold coming up a bit back on that 4,500 mark. And then we're seeing, you know, crude oil again, just inching up a bit to that 94 mark. But what we're seeing is, you know, Brent crude, amidst that uncertainty, it's not gone past the 100 mark ever since this talk started, you know. So now that's a good indicator that markets are really pricing in an exit from the Middle East. And then in terms of the currencies, the Lilangeni is showing signs of mixed motions in today's trade. We're basically flatlining against the dollar, trading at 16.24, and we also just basically flatlining against the euro, trading at 18.92, and you know, just a bit up against the Japanese yen. Thank you, Notzil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibia. That was in-house economist Sanele Sibia coming through with the latest in markets. Otherwise, this has been the Monday edition of Market View from myself and the gang. Let's meet again next time. Bye-bye.
Mswatu ingosi thula akayithathe akahambe nayo akayithathe